Ken, good morning to you. Let's talk about some of the responses that you've been tracking since the shooting unfolded. A lot of the rhetoric has been blaming Democrats for the attack coming from the right. What is the reasoning that's being used, and then how are Democrats responding to that?
Good morning, Kate. Yeah, that's right. Several Republican members of Congress have directly blamed President Biden, the Democrats, and the media for the assassination attempt. They claim it was the result of overheated rhetoric about Trump and part of a campaign to jeopardize his safety. So, for example, Georgia Republican Congressman Mike Collins posted, quote, "Joe Biden sent the orders." And Trump campaign surrogate Nick Adams posted on social media, quote, "Joe Biden's rhetoric is directly responsible. There can be no discussion. This is a fact." And then right-wing journalist Sean Davis wrote that, quote, "Deranged Democrats knew Biden couldn't win, so they incited one of their toadies to try and take out his opponent." Now, it's obviously true that Democrats have called Donald Trump an authoritarian and a threat to democracy, but they've never hinted that violence was an appropriate response to that. And of course, after this shooting, Democrats, including President Biden, have condemned it in the strongest possible terms, and they've called this political violence a threat to democracy. So that's where we stand on that. And experts are worried that this kind of rhetoric, increases the risk of more violence.
Well, that's just what I was going to ask. Are you hearing from your sources, from people who monitor this kind of chatter online, that there are concerns about other political violence?
Yeah, unfortunately, there are those concerns. Extremists have been seizing on this incident. So Telegram channels for branches of the Proud Boys militia group have been calling for civil war and violence. According to Advanced Democracy, that's an NGO that tracks this stuff, a user on one forum wrote that the Democratic National Committee, rhinos, and the feds, quote, should all be hung in the streets of D.C. And users on a pro-Trump platform, patriots.win, are calling for violence and civil war. One user wrote, "War now. They don't want to live and let live." So some really dangerous rhetoric coursing around out there, Kate.
And then at the same time, you've got political leaders on both sides of the aisle. I think of the Speaker of the House this morning saying, we need to tamp down the rhetoric. We need to take down the temperature. Are you seeing any evidence of that?
Well, unfortunately, yes. A lot of mainstream politicians often speak that way, and that's great. But then you have these other kind of flame-throwing politicians, some of the quotes I read earlier, who are not doing that at all. And so as long as there is some group of people who are throwing gasoline on the fire, there are sort of a group of deranged individuals out there that are listening to it, paying close attention, and think they are in essentially a civil war, Kate.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.